Okay, I think we are live. Let me double check. Want to make sure that everything's working fine like usual. Okay, excellent connection. Microphone on, cam on. Okay, and everything's working fine on my phone, at least for my test phone, pretty much. Yeah. Okay. So hello everyone. Good morning, actually, since this is probably one of the rare times I actually stream this early in the morning. Yeah, I'm nintendonurse, if you don't know. Yes. Hello, Iconic. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing this morning? Hopefully you're having a good morning so far. I think that's a new name, actually. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, welcome to the stream. If you don't know me, I'm the nintendonurse. I do both. I kind of do like half and half, if you know if you can tell by the title. Yes. So basically, I do both discussions relating to medical stuff, and I do also the other half is gaming, obviously. Although, as far as like this semester goes, it's been more on the gaming side than the actual nursing, if that's correct. Let's see. Let's see. Yes. Hey, Grace. How are you doing this morning? Good morning. Good morning to both of you. Yes. Welcome. How are you? That's good. That's good to know that you're doing good, Iconic. Let's see. And then yeah, that's about it. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah. For those of you who don't know, yes, I'm the Nintendo nurse. I do both, mostly, nursing and gaming on both sides of things. And kind of stressed, but not too bad. Oh, so sorry to hear that, Grace. Hopefully you do feel better. Yeah, I know what I do know what you mean. Obviously, it's the finals, it's a test, the exams. So I don't blame you. But hopefully you'll get there. Hopefully it's maybe what 2-3 more weeks at most. So yes, we're in the long run of what the end game basically of the semester for school. So hopefully things get a bit better for you. Anyway, yeah, so good morning, guys. Like I mentioned, I know I usually don't do these streams like real early in the morning. But I kind of did this for several reasons. One, because I don't know how long this stream will take. It may be like the usual 2 to 3 hour discussion, perhaps. Although I do try to at least keep like at most 2.5-3 hours max. If I can like skip through some of the stuff that I normally do. But yeah, let's see. I'm never not stressed. No, that's true. No, same. Actually, I can definitely relate to that one a lot, Grace. I actually do have a friend with DID. Are you talking about dissociative identity disorder? Because I think I've actually talked about that one already. If I'm not mistaken, that sounds familiar for some reason. But yeah, it sounds familiar from what I remember. Yeah, okay, yeah. I've heard it on before. I think I did talk about it when I did do the stress. Hold on. It's been a couple of weeks, guys, from that. I believe it's when I did the stress and like PTSD and stress disorders. I think towards the end of that chapter there was like talking about DID, and some like other like major personality disorders. But yeah, that's what about is. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about, I think, something regarding that. Well, no, it's gonna be a little bit different, and I'll explain right now why it's gonna be a little bit different than even like the other conditions I've talked about so far. But let's see. I'm trying to learn more about it, so I'll have to go watch of it. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good, Grace. Actually, yeah, I do recommend. Yeah, if you can, definitely do check that one out. I did talk about it at the very end, basically, of the video. And yeah, that's kind of where I talk. I mean, to be completely honest, it really doesn't go in detail in the book, but it does at least go like an overview of it and kind of like what is it, like talk about like what it is and some of the, I think, like treatments for it, but it doesn't really go over the causes for some reason. I could be wrong. Again, it's been maybe maybe a little bit over a month since I've done that stream, but definitely do check it out if you have the chance. Would appreciate that. But yeah, so today, guys, we're gonna be doing personality disorders. This is technically the final chapter, at least in terms of like what the semester requires us to do. But and I guess I'll say this off the bat, this won't be the end actually of the stream, well, of the abnormal psychology series. I do want to try and do at least 3 more streams after this regarding that. But what I'm probably gonna do is, instead of, since it's not main part of the series, I'm probably gonna put like bonus, like, number 1, number 2, and number 3, and do something like that. So yeah, so it's gonna be pretty interesting. We're gonna basically, the other streams I want to talk about after this one, that's pretty much the it. I mean, it's pretty much the end. Is regarding like abnormal psychology through the lifespan. So, for example, I'm gonna cover children, adolescents, and I'm not sure if like all adulthood or just like the elderly, the old age, mental health disorders regarding all that. So, unfortunately, since it's gonna be like after the semester ends, it's gonna take me a while to kind of like read it, because I mean I need a break too, honestly. I mean, not to hopefully not to sound bad, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I do want like a small break after this. Um, but yeah, I will come back to this hopefully before the end of December at least, and pretty much finish up the discussions regarding that. They may not be like, I guess, in high detail or high that long as these will be, as these have been, but I will at least get through like the overview, the main subject, and the main idea of what they are, the causes, the treatments, and all that good stuff. Yeah, have a break. Definitely. Thanks so much, Grace. I do appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a long semester. I'm actually doing like exams right now too. So actually, I think after this, I need to do an exam. Um, for one exam for my classes. So after this, and that's kind of one reason why I'm doing this early, because I do have some things to do afterwards before I do tonight's game related stream. But yeah, that's what I hope to do. Yes, breaks are good. Yes, definitely, Grace. Yes, hopefully you get a break too with regarding your school and all that good stuff. Because yeah, it's been a long semester. I'll say that for the very least. But anyway, yeah. So we're gonna talk about personality disorders today, guys. To kind of wrap up the semester per se. And this is, I would say, from what I've read from the chapter itself, it's kind of interesting, and it's really interesting to the point where I have not even shared it on social media. And the reason why, because of that, is it's really kind of hard to even describe it, or I guess to kind of, I don't want to say show interest, but it's really like a complex set of disorders, unlike any other ones that we talked previously, whether it's depression, stress, anxiety. It really is kind of different regarding than the other usual topics that we went over. And the reason why I say that is because in general, personality disorders, it kind of speaks for itself. Obviously, disorders of our personality per se. Um, but it's really hard to actually treat that, or even, I'm sorry, it's really hard to cure or even treat that. And the reason is because people who have those type of disorders, it really, not many of them actually seek treatment at all. And the reason because of that is because they feel like they're not in any distress, or they're not in any need of help or treatment, and it's pretty much part of their everyday lives. And that's why it's really hard for them to even seek treatment in the first place, because they feel it's just a part of them. Like, for example, we all have a personality. That's kind of why they go by that. Let's see. I know if I took more breaks doing homework, it might be easier to focus, but I kind of just push myself. That's true. No, not true, Grace. Yeah, I mean, that's understandable. I mean, yeah, you try to go all the way before actually, like, taking a break, which I kind of do understand. I used to kind of do that as well, especially in high school. Um, I kind of, like, went through the, I started, like, at some time, and then I wouldn't even take a break until, like, at the end. So I know, I kind of understand what you're talking about there. I'm sorry, guys. But, but yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. And and as we go along, obviously we'll talk about the different personality disorder types. And this chapter is kind of different in the way how it's structured because it's not really talking about the it basically puts down in each category where each personality disorder kind of has you know its own causes, its own treatments, even though it's kind of barely minimum. And yeah, it kind of goes into that. It's not like just one huge whole chapter where it's just one section is causes, one section is treatments, and one like the outcome. No, it's kind of broken down into several different ones. So I kind of want to, since it does kind of go over, since I'll admit it's probably a little bit of a lengthy good it's probably good, it's a good page count. So I do kind of want to, I probably will skim through a lot of stuff. I will obviously mention like the main things I do want to at least address towards that as best as possible. But yeah, that's all I can say regarding that. I try not to, but it just happens. Yeah, true, Grace. Yeah, I definitely do understand that. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that I used to do that during high school, but now that I'm in college, I kind of like I'm a little bit better. Or I'm actually a lot better when it comes to time management, things like that. So it's all about that as well. But yeah, I definitely do understand what you mean regarding that. So anyway, so like always, guys, let's get started regarding that. And let me see real quick over here. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, yeah. Let's get started on this. So yeah, so like always, I always like to start the chat or start the discussion with reading all of the opening case study for this chapter to obviously give you an idea of what it's like to have this type of disorder. So hopefully from that, it gives you like an in-depth look into what it's like when a person goes through it. And let me see, actually, yeah, and yeah, this is good. This is kind of a good case study to talk about. But yeah, without further ado, guys, let's get started and dive into the discussion. So okay. So first, yeah, let's start with the case study. So open quote: while interviewing for the job of editor for a startup news website, Frederick said, "This may sound self-serving, but I am extraordinarily gifted. I am certain that I will do great things in this position. I and the Osterman Post will soon set the standard for journalism and blogging in the country. Within a year, we'll be looking at the Huffington Post in the rearview mirror." The committee was impressed. Certainly, Frederick's credentials were strong, but even more important, his self-confidence and boldness had wowed them. A year later, many of the same individuals were describing Frederick differently. Arrogant, self-serving, cold, egomaniacal, draining. He had performed well as editor, though not as spectacularly as he seemed to think. But that performance could not outweigh his impossible personality. Colleagues below and above him had grown wary of his manipulations, his emotional outbursts, his refusal ever to take the blame, his non-stop boasting, and his grandiose plans. Once again, Frederick had outworn his welcome. To be sure, Frederick had great charm, and he knew how to make others feel important when it served his purpose. Thus, he always had his share of friends and admirers, but in reality, they were just passing through, until Frederick would tire of them or felt betrayed by the lack of enthusiasm for some of his self-serving interpretations or grand plans, or until they simply could take Frederick no longer. Bright and successful though he was, Frederick always felt entitled to be more than he was receiving. To higher grades at school, greater compensation at work, more attention from girlfriends. If criticized even slightly, he reacted with fury and was certain that the critic was jealous of his superior intelligence, skill, or looks. At first glance, Frederick seemed to have a bit going for him socially. Typically, he will be found in the midst of a deep, meaningful romantic relationship, in which he might be tender, attentive, and seemingly devoted to his partner. But Frederick would always tire of his partner within a few weeks or months and would turn cold or even mean. Often he started affairs with other women while still involved with the current partner. The breakups, usually unpleasant and sometimes ugly, rarely brought sadness or remorse in him, and he would almost never think about his former partner again. He always had himself. End quote. So, as you can see, guys, yeah, this is basically a typical case of personality disorder right here. As you can see, which if I remember correctly, I believe Frederick does seem to have, from what I remember, it is a borderline personality disorder, if I'm mistaken. Well, I could be wrong. I'll double check that right now. And yeah, as you can see, his personality really is not at least working towards others. His personality is kind of, getting him into trouble. Not really, kind of shows him as like a negative person per se. And, really, it's not really giving him a good sense of character. Because at first he was real, positive. He was, he was really, assuring. But then a year later, well, look what happened when regarding that. So that's a case of a case of a personality disorder right there. And as you see, there'll be different kinds of personality types that obviously we'll talk over. And yeah, we'll go through each one, and of course, like, each one actually does have its own like examples or case studies. So we'll talk about that as we go along. But anyway, so in general, and kind of starting the actual discussion now. So obviously, all of us has a personality, which is basically characteristics that describe our behaviors, emotions, thoughts, and perceptions and all that stuff. Regarding interactions, thoughts. Basically how we function every day. In terms of like communication, we each have our own personality. So basically for our particular traits, it's it kind of fairly it leads us to predictable ways for our lives, and all that stuff. So, and basically all personalities kind of flexibility, and that's why for people like us, we learn through experience, whether it's negative or positive. Our personality is flexible. That's why we learn, and we can change our ways of communicating, thinking, and interacting with others through experiences. That's why generally a person's personality is flexible. But people with personality disorders, their flexibility is not really that easy to adjust, and because of that, they stick to a certain type of personality or the way that they process interactions, and there they have troubles. People with personality disorders, they do not have that flexibility as we do, so they kind of stick to that main type of personality disorder. So let me see over here. So people with personality disorders, they always have like a rapid pattern of inner experience, and basically emotional experience, goals, capacity for empathy, or capacity for intimacy. So for example, their personality traits are much more extreme and dysfunctional than a lot of people like you and all of us basically, than people than other people. So obviously, because people with personality disorders, they can lead to significant problems, and psychological pain for themselves and others, whether it's life, work, school, basically their everyday lives. And from there, they have trouble, interacting with life e- every day. Um, let's see over here. I'm gonna skip this. Let's more. So let's see. No, let's actually skip that over here. Yeah, this is why I say, guys, I'm gonna skip a lot of stuff. Um, yeah, because this is not really what this is not really important what I need to talk about over here. Okay, so yeah, so basically, so yeah, technically, like the DSM-5, or the basically the whole, manual, how abnormal mental health disorders are documented. Um, for these type of disorders, they kind of identify 10 different personality disorders. And these type of disorders are into three groups. One is called one is eccentric behavior. Let me see. Hold on. One, yeah, basically the paranoid, schizoid, and schizotypal personality disorders. A second category is dramatic behavior regarding antisocial, borderline, hystonic, and narcissistic personality disorders. And the last type of, or the last category goes into anxiety, high levels of anxiety, which includes dependent, avoidant, and obsessive compulsive personality disorders. So yeah, it's kind of like a big of a mouthful, or kind of like, probably hard to categorize them. But again, as we go along, I'll say, which is actual the category, and then like which is the actual disorders when we go through here. Let me see. Yeah. So basically, each disorder is categorized by a group of obviously their own problematic symptoms. And for example, paranoid personality disorder is diagnosed when there's suspicion that others are harming him or her, but they also have like doubts about the loyalty of friends, reads threatening messages into non-harming events. They have grudges, and also suspicions about the faithfulness of the partners. And from there, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. From there, but in reality, there is no harm to them. But in their mind, they have this paranoia that they really can't, not that they can't control, but they just have this. It's basically what they have as a personality. Um, Let me see. So yeah. So basically, again, this whole like 10 disorders is into like a categorical approach. So it's basically whether you have it or you're not, and that's how these disorders are kind of categorized into, unlike the other previous abnormal psychological conditions that we talked about in the past. Um, let's see. We'll skip that again. More stuff to kind of skip over. Yeah, no. I mean, it just talks about like the categories, like how important the category is into like how, if it's kind of a good way to classify them or not. But again, it's really not much, it's not really much information I want to give out to you all, since it's like too detailed and not really like a general, audience type of thing. Um, okay, so yeah, so I guess this is also like a notice, like a general notice. Um, the things with personality disorders, they can be kind of diagnosed pretty frequently, and even you all may actually see glimpses, or you may even see yourselves technically that they may fit these descriptions of the disorders, and they may even, and I mean, obviously, I'm saying this as a general rule. Some may actually believe that, we have this personality disorder, but again, a lot of these, if basically the main point is like, don't worry if you may fall in some of these. That does not mean you have personality disorder. Um, Obviously, again, we all have personality traits, but yeah, it's not like all personalities are distressful or inflexible. Basically, like it's not like a lot of our personalities don't change. because we all adapted to change. But for people who, that's basically what the main difference is between people like normal personalities and people with personality disorders. That's the main difference about that. But yeah. So kind of like a public, like a notice that if something does actually fit, that does not mean you have personality disorder. Just take of it, I mean, we all have personality traits, different ones. So yeah, we all have at least some form of all these personalities, but obviously it's not either to the extent or it's very minimum that's hardly even noticeable. But yeah. Anyway, so starting off with the first category of personality disorders, we're gonna start off with the odd types. So these type of odd personality disorders it includes the paranoid, schizoid, and schizotypal personality disorders. People with these disorders, they have odd or eccentric behaviors that are similar than those with, but it's not exactly similar for people with schizophrenia. Which, if you actually see, if you saw the last abnormal psychology video that I did, which actually, by the way, kind of a side topic, real quick. It's been a while since I've actually talked about. It's been a while since we've done abnormal psychology videos, guys. I didn't mention this in the beginning. Again, Thanksgiving break, and all that stuff. So obviously I took a break from that. But yeah, that's actually something I actually just remembered. We haven't talked about abnormal psychology in a while. But yeah, but yeah, if you remember schizophrenia, we did talk about it before Thanksgiving break, I believe. Which actually, let me double check that. We did talk about schizophrenia before. And of course they have like extreme suspiciousness, social withdrawal, different ways of thinking and perceiving things. And of course these behaviors and disorders, they leave the person isolated away from people because they're always like in this paranoid type of situation. And then some people, and this is kind of where the mix-up does happen, because some doctors or some psychologists may feel that these personality disorders kind of mix between schizophrenia. So obviously they have to go into like the background history into, okay, is it really schizophrenia or is it an actual personality disorder? And actually schizophrenia personality disorder is listed twice as actually one of the schizophrenia spectrum disorders, and is one actual personality disorders. So basically, schizotypal personality disorder pretty much falls in both schizophrenia and the personality disorder itself. But of course, with schizophrenia, it's different symptoms at the same time as well. Obviously I talked about that in the past, but yeah, that's basically the reason how you detect one from the other. And yeah, so that's how it's directly related or not between each other. Okay, we'll continue on from there. So to start off with the first topic, actually let me extend all the way this first, because that way I don't have to always click over here real quick. Hold on. Okay, I think it should have worked. Okay, awesome. So yeah, so to start off with the types of personality disorders, we're gonna start off with paranoid personality disorders. So like I mentioned, I think briefly, paranoid personality disorders is basically this deeply distrust within other people, and suspicious of their actions or their intentions, which in reality they're not really harming them, but to the degree they really are. I mean, they believe that they are. So yeah, because they believe that everyone intends to harm them, they really much, they barely have close relationships, so they really ignore close relationships at all. And the trust within their own ideas and abilities can be intense. Which basically that they believe that they're always right and that others are wrong. So to kind of give you like a scenario on this, there was actually another like case study about this personality disorder itself. So let's take a look into that. So open quote. For Eduardo, a researcher at a generic engineering research company, this was the last straw. He had been severely chastised by his behavior for disregarding company protocol and deviating from the research procedure in a major study. He knew where this was coming from. He had been ratted out by his jealous, convincing lab colleagues, petty and small-minded bureaucrats who were always plotting ways to get him in trouble. This time, Eduardo would not sit back quietly. He demanded a meeting with his supervisor and the 3 other researchers in the lab. I'm sorry. It's because my mouth gets dry. Obviously, my mouth gets dry a lot easier than actually like game streams, so I always need to take a sip of water every now and then. So at the outset of the meeting, Eduardo insisted that he would not leave the room until he was told of the name of the person who had ratted him out. He acknowledged that he had in fact altered the study's research, designed in key ways, eliminating some of the rats that were to be included in the study, increasing the food intake for a number of the rats, and conducting certain blood analysis that he thought would be enlightening. He maintained that these alterations were more than justified. The lab study, as previously designed, was a dull waste of time. In contrast, the revisions would open the door to new insights and potentially enormous medical gains. Eduardo quickly shifted the focus of the meeting into his lab colleagues. He stated that the other scientists were intimidated by his visionary ideas, and he accused them of trying to get him out of the way so they could continue to work on an unproductive, low-pressure atmosphere. He said that their desire to get rid of him was always apparent on him, revealed that by their coldness toward him each and every day, and their outright nastiness whenever he tried to correct them or offer constructive criticism. Now on a roll, Eduardo further accused them of always talking loudly to one another as they ate lunch at their desks for the sole purpose of preventing him from completing the work tasks that he could bring to his desk. Nor did it escape his attention that they were always laughing at him, talking about him behind his back, and on more than one occasion trying to copy or destroy his notes. The other researchers were aghast as Eduardo laid out his suspicions. They knew he didn't like them, but they had not, until now, recognized the depth of his fury or the number of his imagined sights. One of them, Xavier, spoke up. First, they had no idea he was literally changing the research protocol, so of course there was no way that they could have reported his actions to the supervisor. Second, and more generally, it was he, not they, who was always behaving in an unfriendly and backstabbing manner. Was it not true that he had stopped speaking to all 3 of them 2 months ago, and that he regularly tried to antagonize them, giving them dirty looks, slamming doors, and brushing hard into him whenever he passed them? In response, Eduardo grunted and laughed, a self-righteous laugh. His only response was to ask them how else they expected him to behave, given the ill will toward him. Next, Eduardo's supervisor, Lisa, spoke up. She said that in her objective opinion, none of Eduardo's accusations were true. First, none of his colleagues had informed on him because he had constructed his modified protocols after they had gone home. She had reviewed videos from the lab cameras as a matter of routine and had noticed him feeding rats that were supposed to be hungry later. While acknowledging that his research ideas were interesting, she pointed out that his unilateral changes in procedure were throwing off the validity of the study. Lisa reminded him that any devotion would have had to be approved by her, and that she would not be able to give that approval without submitting a written request to the financial backers. Second, she said that in her observations of everyday lab interactions, it was Xavier's account that rang true, not Eduardo's. She added a few points on her own: that Eduardo never smiled, always looked tense, regularly picked fights, and seemed to delight in criticizing others. She also noted that she had received many complaints from people outside the lab about Eduardo's cold and aloof manner. Finally, she angrily pointed out that several full competent assistants had quit over the past year because of his eruptions over slight errors in infractions. Eduardo's response to Lisa was what she expected by this point, but no less offensive. He accused her of covering up for his treacherous co-workers and of being in the pocket of a compromised medical field with a financial stake in maintaining the status quo. Later, in the privacy of her office, Lisa told Eduardo that she had no choice but to let him go. She said that his behavior in the meeting showed once and for all that he could not be trusted, no matter how gifted he was, and that his continued presence on the project would jeopardize its integrity. Eduardo was furious, but not really surprised. His past two jobs had also ended badly. As he was packing up his private belongings back in the lab, he made a point of sarcastically congratulating his co-worker Xavier for successfully overstressing my termination and for your victory on behalf of the forces of scientific mediocrity. End quote. So guys, okay. So yeah, guys, I can see here this person, Eduardo, yeah, he definitely, that is a case of paranoid personality disorder. I'm just kind of go in general. Yeah, he was always paranoid of and he felt like his coworkers were kind of, getting in the way, were trying to get rid of him, had always bad intentions about him. And, they always had, he had these thoughts that, that they always wanted to get him. And, from the story or case study, it wasn't true. In fact, he actually made himself actually quit, or actually get fired because of his own allegation, or his own his allegations. So as you can see here, that's a case of paranoid personality disorder, and so he pretty much kind of got himself, unfortunately. That was a case study. So now to kind of talk about the actual disorder itself. So always on guard and cautious, and seeing threats everywhere. People always expect to be the targets from others, or they'll basically want to be targeted by some tricks or some negative intentions, which usually it's not true. Let me see. Okay, now let's skip that. So basically, people with paranoid personality disorder, they're always quick to challenge, loyalty and trustworthiness of others. And because of that, they're always cold and distant, from relationships. For example, a woman might avoid confiding anyone, for example, for the fear of being hurt, or a husband, for that matter, might persist in questioning his wife's faithfulness. Although obviously inappropriate and inaccurate, their suspicions are not always not generally delusional. And their ideas are not really so bizarre, as to clearly from remove them from reality. So for example, from a wife and husband on suspicions, that's not. I mean, that's a little more common than than any other Then like for it doesn't really affect the reality per se, but people with paranoid personality disorder, it really does affect them in everyday lives. Um, so people with this disorder are the easily prone to weakness and fault in others, particularly at work situations. Yeah, this tends to happen more at work. And for example, they're unable to recognize their own mistakes and really sensitive to criticism, which in reality, for like a normal, for a regular, for others who don't have personality disorders, they take these types of criticism constructively, and they obviously take responsibility for their actions. But they often, and of course, people with personality disorders, they blame others for things that go wrong, and they always have grudges again. Now, kind of going to the statistics, 4.4% in adults, they have experienced this disorder before, which actually, and you'll see a lot of these, a lot of them actually are more common in men than women. But of course, they don't really describe as to why that happens. So now this kind of goes now that we kind of talked about like the basic, well, kind of like the overview of paranoid personality disorder. It kind of goes into like now the causes of it. But again, I'm not gonna go into too detail on this because it's pretty much a little bit too specific for y'all. But I will say at least this. If I can actually talk about this. And you actually see a lot of this, like a lot of this specific cause in terms of a lot of personality disorders. It's basically a lot of had to do with demanding parents. It kind of goes back into like a person's childhood, kind of like with demanding parents, particularly distant, rigid fathers, and over controlling, rejecting mothers. And from that interaction going up, they can have paranoid, this type of personality disorder, or even others as we go along. And so yeah, it kind of goes back into a lot of the childhood types of or childhood lives of developing these disorders. And from there, that's why they develop these types of disorders in the first place. Basically, again, like lack of love, all that stuff. Basically being distant from parents and not receiving the care and attention that they children need. They grow up to being this these type of individuals having some issues regarding their own personality themselves. So we'll skip that, obviously. So we'll skip that. And then of course there's some like genetic causes for paranoid personality disorder. Again, we'll go into that, but again, it has to do like with maybe twins or even like parents from parent to child, things like that. Yeah, they have that. Basically, you can also get from genetics as well. Now going into the treatments of this paranoid personality disorder, and before we continue, guys, yeah, it's gonna be like this. Well, it's gonna be like the causes. I mean the overview, the causes, and then the treatment. So it's gonna be kind of short. But what makes it a little bit more lengthy is kind of going into each one, since there's 10 of them. And from what I remember, yeah, this whole chapter kind of goes all through 10 of them. So I do understand if it may seem a little bit long, but if you do kind of break it down, it really doesn't go in that depth, if that makes sense. But yeah, just to kind of give you like a heads up as to kind of like what what to experience. As we go through along each personality disorder. But anyway, so for the treatment for personality disorder, and people, and again, treatments for personality disorder, it's kind of tough to do. And before I actually go off specifically into this disorder, it's really hard to cure, even treat them, to see any progress in the first place, because it's really hard to change personality for people with personality disorders, because for them having this disorders, they can't change their personality, so they're stuck in this stigma or this own perception, thinking that they cannot change. So that's why it's really hard in the first place to even treat these kind of disorders, because it's really hard for them to see that there's an issue going on within themselves. Um, but yeah, that's why some of these treatments, or if not all of them, they show little or no progress because of that. But yeah, so people with personality disorder, they don't, obviously, like here, they don't typically see themselves as needing help, and for you to even seek treatment willingly themselves. People who are in treatment, obviously, they feel the patient as inferior, and they always distrust, like, they always have, like, again, because of this paranoia, they have distrust, and they rebel against the therapists, or professionals that are helping, treating them. So it's not surprising that therapy for this disorder, and again, like with many other personality disorders, there's not that many. It doesn't really help them a lot, and it moves very slowly at the very least. Um, so I'm not gonna go into, like, obviously, like, the specifics of, like, therapy, but they try to kind of, focus on, like, the cause. They, like, for example, they go back into the stages of, like, for example, like, their childhood, see if they can bring out something of that. They can also focus on, like, the way they think, perhaps, if they could. And of course, like, for the behaviors, they try to change the way, um, how they perceive their behavior as, towards others, regarding to kind of, like, okay, don't think of this person as trying to get you. They really aren't, per se. And yeah, that's kind of how it works. And as far as, like, with medications, antipsychotic drugs, they really don't have much help, at the very least. And if it does, there's barely minimum that it really does support it itself. What else? I do believe that's about it for, actually. Yeah, that's actually about it for paranoid personality disorder. And yeah, guys, like I mentioned, it's gonna be like this for all the chapters. I mean for the personality disorders. So yeah, so the next one is schizoid personality disorder. Now, people with this disorder, they technically avoid and are removed from social relationships, and they show very little emotions. And people with like, and also people, like, for example, like people with paranoid personality disorders, people with schizoid disorders, they also have close ties with, they don't have close ties with other people. They often distance themselves, in other words, and they always tend to be themselves, or they don't have that many social relationships with others. um but the reason why they avoid social contact, that's the difference between this and paranoid disorder, is that they have nothing to do with paranoid, or feelings of distress or suspicion. It is because they generally prefer to be alone. So technically, basically, schizoid, and I mean, I guess to kind of sum up, it's basically people, they just want to be alone. Like, these people like to be, I mean, I guess, like, how some, the common word is, like, they like to be loners. And they feel like there's not an issue with that. Um, and yeah, from this example, once again, you'll see, why, what it's like for a person to have a schizoid personality disorder. So before that, let me actually take a drink of water, so that my mouth. Yeah, I always got to remember to take a drink of water, guys. If not, then my mouth becomes dry, and it's kind of hard to talk at times. I guess that's why I also take breaks during these discussions as well, so that way, I can rest my mouth and actually, like, not not talk too much at the same time. Let's see. I'll try to be back in a few, but may not be able to. I'll try, though. Okay. No problem. No problem, Grace. Yes, thank you so much for joining. If you can't come back, again, I understandable. I mean, Yeah, it's in the morning. It's kind of early still, and I'm pretty sure you must be in school too. But yeah, no, I completely understand. Yeah, hopefully you have a good day today, and yeah, I'll be live again later on today and in the evening or nighttime. So yeah, hope to see you there. But yeah, thank you for stopping by. Um, but anyway, so yeah, guys. So let's continue with the this scenario of schizoid. So open quote. Ellie, a student at a local technical institute, had been engaged in several different internet certificate programs over the past few years, and was about to engage in yet another when his mother, confused as to why he would not apply for a traditional degree at a real college, instead he seek therapy. A loner by nature, Ellie preferred not to socialize in any traditional sense, having little to no desire to get to know much about the people in his immediate social context. The way Ellie saw it, at least at my school, you go to class, you just go to class and go home. Um, Routinely, he slept through much of his day, and then spent his evenings, nights, and weekends at the school's computer lab, chatting with others over the internet while not at class. Notably, people that he chatted with often sought to meet Ellie, but he always declined these invitations, saying that he didn't really have any desire to learn more about them than what they shared over the computer in the chat rooms. He described a family life that was similar to that of his social surroundings. He was mostly oblivious of his younger brother and sister, two outgoing teens, despite the fact that they seemed to hold him in the highest regard, and he had recently alienated himself entirely from his father, who had left the family several years earlier. Uh, a marked deficit in social interest was notable in Ellie, as were frequent behavioral eccentricities. At best, he had acquired a peripheral role in social and family relationships. Rather than venturing outward, he was increasingly removed himself from others and from sources of potential growth and gratification. Life was uneventful, with extensive periods of solitude interspersed. Sorry guys, so as you can see, basically, to kind of sum up, I'm sorry, end quote. To kind of sum up, he pretty much, Ellie here is much of a person that, yeah, likes to be alone. However, as you can see, as you can probably tell, since he is, pretty much on his own, yeah, what is it? He pretty much doesn't, have, a productive life. Like, he's not really going to get an actual degree. Um, and he's pretty much trying to avoid any social contact at all, which, obviously from that, you need to get it. In order to have a job, you need to have some sort of social contact. So yeah, so it is affecting his life in some way as well. And that's where it kind of, tells you that, yeah, it is affecting his life occasionally. Maybe not every day, but it is affecting him for the most part. So yeah, people like Ellie, they're pretty much described as loners, like I mentioned. And they make no effort at all to keep to start or even keep friendships. They take little interest in having even, and I mean yeah, I'll say, because yeah, even though this is, I guess, not really family friendly, but this is a medical related thing, so I can't say this. Yeah, they take little interest in having sexual relationships, and they even seem indifferent to their families. And of course, they seek out, and for people with schizoid personality disorders, they seek out jobs that have little to no contact with others, and they often work relations to a degree, but a lot of people prefer to keep to themselves. And then people live by a lot of people with this personality disorder. They live on their own as well. And then of course the social skills tend to be weaker than most others because of not having so many social interactions with other people. And of course, and surprisingly, if they do marry others, which it's kind of interesting. How can I mean? I guess it's possible if they marry, but it's kind of interesting that it says that here. And of course, if they marry others, lack of interest in intimacy may create marital or family problems as well. So yeah, so it does actually play effect on them. In terms of like the lifestyle. Maybe not every day, but it does affect the lifestyle to a degree. And the people with this disorder focus mainly on themselves and are generally unaffected by praise or criticism, meaning they could have no emotions at all. And yeah, they really don't show any feelings. They don't even express their joys or anger, surprisingly. And they have no need for attention, acceptance. They sometimes are even viewed as cold-hearted people, humorless, dull, and they generally succeed in being ignored. Now, in terms of like the percentage, there's about 3.1% of the adult population that has this disorder. Again, and actually talk about the statistics in general. The book online here, it's a little bit outdated. The one I have in the hard copy, it may have a little bit more, accurate information regarding the statistics, but still, it's not really that much of a difference. It's not really that much of a high difference. It's kind of just give you more an idea how much it affects general people. But again, in this disorder, men are highly more than likely to develop it than women, and may be more impaired or more affected by it itself than women too. So again, that's about schizoid personality disorder. The causes, again, so much the roots is basically the need for human contact. So again, going back to like the person's childhood, the parents, they believe to have been unaccepting or abusive towards the children or the person. They react to parenting with distrust, and yeah, they generally just don't get love or from parents themselves. So again, it has to do a lot with back in their childhood. And it could also be the way that they're thinking. They could be their thoughts may not be their thoughts may be vague, unattentive. And they may not have much meaning, and they may have trouble scanning the surroundings to see the actual perceptions of other people. And of course, they cannot respond to emotions too. That's about it. Actually, yeah, that's about it for the causes, honestly. And then as you can see, guys, we're starting to move along here because they really don't go into it's pretty much the same causes as with every other personality disorder. But yeah, just kind of give you an example. So the treatments for this, the social withdrawal treatments for people with this disorder, they pretty much makes this, they pretty much, the only way that people for this disorder seek treatment is only for social interactions. So of course but again, because of this personality, they remain emotionally distant from the therapist or psychologist. They don't care about the treatments, and then they obviously make limited progress in the long run. And of course, they kind of more, again, they just help people with social interactions. They try to boost the social skills, and of course, they try to boost their own, I guess you could also say the self-esteem in a way to kind of help them better with their interactions. But besides that, that's all that they can do in terms of therapy. And again, also with paranoid, schizoid, drug therapy, it really does not help at all. To the very least, very minimum. But yeah, there's not really much that can actually do. So the last type of odd personality disorders, it's a schizotypal personality disorder. Now, yeah, so people with schizotypal personality disorder, they have a lot of interpersonal problems, basically with discomfort in close relationships, odd patterns of thinking and perceiving, and behavioral eccentricities. They're always anxious, but they're always anxious around others. People, they seek isolation and have very few close friends. Some feel, also now these will actually feel very lonely, which that's actually new for this type of personality disorder. Which actually, guys, I think after I do this one, I'm gonna take a quick break, to kind of rest my mouth a little bit. But yeah, after this personality disorder, I'll take a quick 5-10 minute break and I'll come back. But yeah, anyway. But yeah, so yeah, this disorder is more it's more serious than paranoid and schizoid personality disorders. And you'll see from this example, from this other case study, regarding a 41-year-old patient, which is Kevin. So open quote. Kevin was a night security guard at a warehouse where he had worked since his last high school graduation, more than 20 years ago. His parents, both successful professionals, had been worried for many years. As Kevin seemed entirely disconnected from himself and his surroundings and had never taken initiative to make any changes, even toward a shift supervisory position. They therefore made the referral for therapy, and Kevin simply acquiesced, I believe that's how you say it. He explained that he liked his work, and it was a place where he could be by himself in a quiet atmosphere, away from everyone else. He described where he worked as an empty warehouse. They did not use it more, but they did not want no one in there. It's nice, which is homey. Throughout the interview, Kevin remained aloof, never once looking at the counselor, usually answering questions with either one-word responses or short phrases, and usually waiting to respond until a second question was asked or the first question was repeated. He described, in short, bizarre answers. A life devoid of almost any human interconnectedness, almost his only tangible contact being his brother, who he only saw during major holidays. Living alone, he could only remember one significant relationship, and that was with a girl in high school. Very simply, he stated, "We graduated, and then I didn't see her anymore." He expressed no apparent loneliness, however, and appeared entirely emotionless regarding any aspect of his life. Kevin often seemed to experience a separation between his mind and his physical body. There was a strange sense of non-being or non-existence, as if his fully conscious awareness carried with a depersonalized or identifyless human form. Behaviorally, his tendency also was to drab, sluggish, and inexpressive. He appeared bland, indifferent, unmotivated, and insensitive to the external world. Most people consider him to be a strange person. What faded into the background, self-absorbed and lost to the outside world. Bizarre telepathic powers enabled him to communicate with mythical or distant others. Kevin also occasionally decompressed when faced with too much, rather than too little stimulation. He would simply fade out, becoming blank, losing conscious awareness, and turning off the pressures of the outer world. And then end quote right there. So, as you can see, guys, and I'm sorry, okay, sorry about that, guys. Need to check something real quick. Okay, we're good. Okay. So yeah, guys. So unquote. So as you can see, yeah, this person does have schizotypal personality disorder. He enjoys being alone, surprisingly, and yeah, he makes little action to kind of change his ways of actually pretty much living. And I'm sorry, guys. 1 second, real quick. I want to make sure I'm actually okay. Hold on. I'm gonna have a message real quick. Whoop. Okay, we're good. I think we're good. Hold on. Okay, now we're good. Okay, we're good. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah. Okay, we're good. Yeah. So yeah, as you can see, he does have schizotypid personality disorder. Yeah, he enjoys being alone. He doesn't like interacting with others, and he does little to actually change anything about it. So, like I mentioned, so the thoughts and behaviors of people with this personality disorder can be obviously noticeably actually disturbed. And of course, the symptoms may be ideas of reference, beliefs that unrelated events pertain to them in some important way, and bodily illusions such as seeing an external force or presence. Wait, I'm actually reading the right one, right? Oh wait, hold on. Oh wait, no, yeah, I am. Okay, I was like, wait, is this the correct area paragraph I'm in? Yeah, so a number of people also they special extraordinary abilities, and some may have control over others supposedly. So it's like a mythical fantasy like powers that they believe that they have. What else? Examples of other schizotypical eccentricities may arranging cans to align the labels, organizing closets extensively, wearing an old assortment of clothing. And of course, the emotions of the individuals may be inappropriate, flat, or humorless. So people with this disorder, they have great difficulty keeping the attention focused. They have a typical, digressive and vague conversations. And of course, they tend to, drift aimlessly and lead an idle, unproductive life where they don't do anything with their lives. They're likely to have undemanding jobs, so in which they can work below their capacity and are not required to interact with others at the very minimum. And of course, and yeah, that's about it for people with schizotypal personality disorder. And of course, about 3.9% of people have this type of personality disorder. But yeah, and of course, again, males typically have it more than females, and it technically is affected. So once again, how is it caused? Again, it kind of goes back into the childhood. They also, basically from the memory back when they're children. Basically also with schizophrenia. Backward masking, basically a visual stimulus after a previous stimulus has flashed from the point of view. Let me see if there's anything else. That's all I'm looking for. Actually, that's about it. Yeah. I mean, because it does talk about like also the link to the way how the disorders of the mood changes. For example, people with schizotypical personality disorder may even have like from a major depressive disorder. They may also have depression, stress. They could have like another type of abnormal psychology. A mental health disorder. Than just a schizotypical personality disorder. But yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of the causes. Again, not really go into details, obviously, but that is what it is. And of course, the treatments. Again, therapy is difficult in general for people with schizotypical. Because of paranoid, they need to help these people reconnect with the world and recognize the limits of the thinking and of the powers, which in reality they don't have any powers. They basically just try to bring them back into reality. Make them think that, okay, you need to get out of it pretty much, and like you need to be more productive with your life. And the way you're thinking, it's really not helping you out leading a successful lifestyle. And that's kind of what they try to help out with that. Let me see. And of course, they try to increase positive social contacts. They try to improve, social skills as well. We reduce, overstimulation. And then, of course, ease loneliness, make them feel more be more interactive to stop being lonely, and all that good stuff. Let's see. Not really too much on here too. Yeah, I mean, and of course they try to also make them realize that they don't have magical powers. There is no, like telepathy or the way that they think or anything like that. Yeah, so they try to make them realize that they really don't have anything else. Now this one, in terms of medications, antipsychotic drugs have when they're given to people with this schizotypal personality disorder, because of the disorder similar to schizophrenia, in low doses, the medication actually does appear to help some people, which is good. Usually by reducing the certain of the thought problems, but again, it's not always 100% effective. It only helps a certain amount of people. So again, it's like limited, but it does make some progress in some way. If that doesn't make sense. So we're done with actually the first category of personality disorders, everyone. But what I'm actually gonna do is before we continue, I'm gonna take like a 5-10 minute break because I need a rest my mouth. I actually need to use the men's restroom real quick. But yeah, I'll be right back, guys, in about 5 to 10 minutes. So I'll see you then. Okay, I think I'm back, everyone. Am I? Hopefully. Am I still on? Hopefully I am. Yeah, I think. Okay, I think I should be. I should be. Yeah. So yes, I'm back, everyone. Sorry about that. Again, I had to take a quick break. Yeah, talking and then like just have to obviously get up a little bit and just take a break to feel refreshed again. But anyway, yeah. So let's so yeah, we finished out the first category, which is awesome. And yeah, let's actually continue going through the next one. Again, it's gonna be kind of like this, pretty much, everyone. As far as like, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be pretty much the same in terms of like whether it's talking about it, and like real briefly we'll talk about like the causes, and of course we'll talk about obviously the treatments there. And I'm actually looking right now in terms of the stuff. It's gonna be pretty much the same from what it looks like. So yeah. So anyway, let's continue on, and then let's just yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we can get done within the next hour to hour and a half at the very most. But anyway, so yeah, so let's get started with the second second type of category of personality disorders, which is called dramatic personality disorders. So, basically, the dramatic personality disorders include antisocial, borderline, histrionic, and narcissistic personality disorders. Behaviors of people with these are so dramatic, emotional, or erratic that it's almost impossible for them to have even relationships that are actually, worth keeping or giving or satisfying, basically. So yeah, so it's really hard for them to even have even any types of relationships because of that. So these disorders are commonly these disorders are more common than all the others. However, only for example, the antisocial and borderline have actually received more support or research and treatments, because those two are the ones that create the most problems for other people. And the causes of disorders, again, like those with odd personality disorders, they're not really well understood. They can range from ineffective to moderately effective, treatments. For at least for the treatments on how to get cured. Well, not cured, but at least minimum treatment if it's even possible. But anyway, so let's start off with antisocial personality disorder. Now, just let's pause off first. When you hear antisocial personality disorder, it sounds like something that you're not antisocial, but that's not exactly what it means. It actually means pretty much the exact. Well, no, it's actually a little bit worse than what you think it actually does, at least from the word itself. I originally thought it meant what it sounds like, but it's not. The truth is not really what it is. So antisocial personality disorder. So people with antisocial disorder are technically called psychopaths or sociopaths. They basically disregard and violate others' rights. Basically, also from substance use disorders, this disorder is the most common link to adult criminal behavior. So, this is this is definitely. Basically, this is like the criminal, personality disorder type, you can say. And yeah. So basically, a person has to be at least 18 years of age to receive the diagnosis. But people with this social disorder, they can display patterns of behavior before they were 15. Includes like truancy, running away, cruelty to animals or people, destroying property, and all that stuff. And of course, basically those are people with these type of personality disorders. And I wonder if I should actually go through this case study or not. I mean, let me double check on this one, guys, real quick. I guess we can do this case study. I mean, why not? It's kind of interesting in regardless, so we can actually do this one. So this is actually from a perspective from a researcher, from a researcher that was trying to help a patient from prison, from a prison mate named Ray. So open quote. In the early 1960s, I found myself employed as the sole psychologist at the British Columbia Penitentiary. I wasn't in my office for more than an hour when my first client arrived. He was a tall, slim, dark-haired man in his 30s. The air around him seemed to buzz, and the eye contact he made me was so direct and intense that I wondered if I ever really looked anybody in the eye before. That stare was unrelenting. He didn't indulge in the brief glances away that most people use so often, the force of the gaze. Without waiting for an introduction, the inmate, I'll call him Ray, opened the conversation. Hey doc, how's it going? Look, I've got a problem. I need your help. I'd really like to talk to you about this. Eager to begin Eager to begin work as a genuine psychotherapist, I asked him to tell me about it. In response, he pulled out a knife and waved it in front of my nose, all the while smiling and maintaining that intense eye contact. Once he determined that I wasn't going to push the button, he explained that he intended to use the knife not on me but on another inmate who had been making overtures to his protege, a prison term for the more passive member of a homosexual pairing. Just why he was telling me this was not immediately clear, but I soon suspected that he was checking me out, trying to determine what sort of a prison employee I was. From that first meeting on, Wei managed to make my 8-month stint at the prison miserable. His constant demands on my time and his attempts to manipulate me into doing things for him were unending. On one occasion, he convinced me that he would make a good cook, and I supported his request for a transfer from the machine shop where he had reportedly made the knife. What I didn't consider was that the kitchen was a source of sugar, potatoes, fruit, and other ingredients that could be turned into alcohol. Several months after I had recommended the transfer, there was a mighty eruption below the floorboards directly under the warden's table. When the commotion died down, we found an elaborate system for distilling alcohol below the floor. Something had gone wrong, and one of the pots had exploded. There was nothing unusual about the presence of a still in a maximum security prison, but the audacity of placing one under the warden's seat shook up a lot of people. When it was discovered that Wei was the brains behind the bootleg operation, he spent some time in solitary confinement. Some of the guys. Okay. Some of the guys. Okay. Sorry about that. Once out of the hole, Wei appeared in my office as if nothing had happened and asked for a transfer from the kitchen to the auto shop. He really felt he had a knack. He saw that he needed to prepare himself from the outside world. If he only had the time to practice, he could have his body shop on the outside. I was still feeling the sting of having arranged for the first transfer, but eventually he wore me down. Soon afterward, I decided to leave the prison to pursue a PhD in psychology, and about a month before I left, Wei almost persuaded me to ask my father, a roofing contractor, to offer him a job as part of an application for parole. Okay, let me hold on. Real quick, guys. Let me say real quick. I'm back. My test got moved to oh, it's good. That's good, Grace. Welcome back, by the way. Yes, we're actually going over the second category of personality disorders, so that's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome when your test got pulled back. That's really amazing. Yeah, it's awesome. It's glad to hear. But welcome back. Yes, definitely. Open quote again. So Wei had an incredible ability to con not just me, but everybody. He could talk and lie with a smoothness and a directness that sometimes momentarily disarmed even the most experienced and cynical of the prison staff. When I met him, he had a long criminal record behind him, and as it turned out, ahead of him. About half of his adult life had been spent in prison, and many of his crimes had been violent. He lied endlessly, lazily about everything, and it disturbed him not a whit whenever I pointed out something in his file that contradicted one of his lies. He would simply change the subject and spin off in a different direction. Finally convinced that he may not make the perfect job candidate in my father's firm, I turned down Wei's request and was shaken by the nastiness at my refusal. Before I left the prison for the university, I took advantage of the prison policy of letting staff have their cars repaired in institution's auto shop where Wei still worked. Thanks to me. The car received a beautiful paint job, and the motor and drivetrain will be conditioned. With all our possessions on the top of the car and our baby in a plywood bed in the back seat, my wife and I headed for Ontario. The first problems appeared soon after we left Vancouver, where the motor seemed a bit rough. Later, when we encountered some moderate inclines, the radiator bolted over. A garage mechanic discovered ball bearings in the Cloudbuster's front chamber. He also pointed out where one of the hoses in the radiator had clearly been tampered with. These problems were repaired easily enough, but the next one, which arose while we were going down a long hill, was more serious. The brake partial became very spongy and then simply dropped to the floor, no brakes. And it was a long hill. Fortunately, we made it to a service station where we found that the brake had been cut so that a slow leak would occur. Perhaps it was a coincidence that Ray was working on the auto shop when the car was being turned up, but I had no doubt that the prison telegraph had informed him of the owner of the car. End quote. So, okay, so yeah, Ray here, Ray the prisoner, he's the one that has antisocial personality disorder, guys. And before I actually continue, okay, look, I understand if you're probably trying to, I guess, take advantage of, I guess, job opportunities, but when it comes to criminals, I probably would not even trust them to handle my car at the very least. So I'm kind of surprised that the therapist actually did that. Took his personal car to their body shop where prisoners actually worked into, and it's like, okay, you're probably asking for trouble when you're thinking like that. I mean, I don't want to say it's common sense, but the prisoners, and again, I mean, I don't mean to be, skeptical or anything like that, but I mean, you really probably won't, it's not the best way to get your car fixed there. I mean, again, sure, you may save the money perhaps since it's from the work, but yeah, that may not be the best option for that. Let's see. Sorry I wasn't super active earlier. I was listening while I was writing yesterday. Okay, no problem, Grace. No problem at all. That's always not a problem. Let's see. Yes. That's no problem at all, Grace. Yeah, I definitely do appreciate you sticking around though. Now, also again, like, I'm pretty sure you're in school either way, so I definitely understand that too. But yeah, that was as far as like with Ray, he has antisocial personality disorder, and it's definitely does fit his description right there. So people with antisocial personality disorder, they always lie. They're pretty much pathological liars, you can say. They cannot work at a job constantly because they are always absent, and they're likely to quit their jobs themselves in the end. Let's see real quick here. Sorry about that. Okay. Usually they're careless with money, and they always fail to pay their debts. They also impulsive, taking action without thinking of the consequences. And technically, they're irritable, aggressive, and quick to start fights. And of course, they travel from place to place because of pretty much their not good intentions. Let's see. Today's just a review day, Matt, so I'm listening while I work on my packet. Okay, no problem, Grace. Yes, thank you so much for listening then. Hopefully I'm not too of a distraction for you, but I do appreciate that. Yes, thank you. Let's see. So yes, recklessness is just another common trait. People with the antisocial personality disorder have little regard for one's safety or their own, even their own children, surprisingly. They are self-centered, and they have trouble maintaining close relationships as well because of the, the harmful intentions. They keep a knack for gaining personal profit at the expense of other people, regardless of the consequences. Because of the pain or damage they can have on others or themselves, their concerns they cause, it doesn't really concern them because of that. And of course they lack a moral conscience because of them stuff. So yeah, so as you can see, yeah, it really does not. They pretty much just lack empathy altogether. Um, and yeah, they pretty much lack almost human nature when it comes to feelings or any type of emotion when it comes to safety, guilt, pain, all that stuff. Let's see. It actually helps me to listen to something. Well, that's good. That's good, Grace. Yeah, same here. Like actually, yeah. When I do homework or something, I always have like music on or have like a YouTube video on just to like keep me focused. Even like for example, when I sleep. Off topic, real quick. When I sleep, I actually do leave my TV on for like an hour or two. So that way it helps me fall asleep per se. But yeah, I do understand what you mean. Part keeps my brain from being distracted by things around me because of my ADHD. Right, that's true. Yeah, that could be a good, I mean that could be a reason why too. But hey, I mean it's a good treatment for you. I mean it's a good self self help self treatment for you. So that's pretty good. That's always good to have your own method of helping yourself. So basically, about 3.6% of adults have this, antisocial personality disorder. And of course, again, although this one does actually have like a specific number, it's 4 times more common among men than women. And yeah, so obviously men do get it more. So of course, because with this disorder, people are more likely often to get arrested because of that. Um, and that's why a lot of people who have this disorder they mainly look in prison populations, and it's probably estimated that 40% of people meet the criteria for the disorder. Let's see. Let me see. Okay, now I'm not gonna go over the age. That's a little bit too specific right there. What else? Let's see. So I, mean, I guess you can say that yeah, a lot of people who have antisocial personality disorder they have some type of substance use disorder. Because it does kind of go hand in hand. Because of that. Because intoxication and substance misuse can trigger the development of the personality disorder in the first place, which is by loosening a person's inhibitions. So yeah, so that's probably why the more prone to substance abuse disorders. Let's see, let's skip that. Okay, no, let's not skip that. Well, okay, well I guess we'll cover that in the next chapter when I do it on my own. That's about it. Okay, yeah, so that's about it as far as like the general guideline or general ways of antisocial personality disorder. Just think of it as like, I don't want to say like all criminals, obviously, but it's more like like harmful intentions, like a harmful intention personality per se. But yeah, that's kind of what it is in a nutshell. Okay. So again, it kind of goes back into again, but the cause is basically from childhood. Absence of parental love from infancy, childhood, and basically lack of basic trust from parents, and others as children grow older. Of course, they can also they can become emotionally distant and they bond with others through the use of power and destructiveness. For example, like bullying can also cause this type of antisocial personality disorder. And going on to like the behavior side, it can be from learning from others, modeling, or imitation themselves. And yeah, that it can be from those type of stuff. Let's not do that. And then there's even some biological factors that can play into it. Like for example, they have like lower chemicals in the brains like serotonin. And yeah, because of that, because of the low serotonin levels, they can be more impulsive and aggressive towards them. Let's skip that. Okay, it's a bit too specific right there. No. Yeah, no. Let's skip that. May also be argued. No, that's actually. Well, okay, you can actually also. I mean, I guess you can also say that people with antisocial personality disorders they are risk seekers because they are actually wanting to basically cause, since they don't care for the safety of others, they just risk take themselves. So that's not good. Let's see. Okay, I'll have to go. Oh, I'm sorry to ignore you, Grace. I'll have to go to my next class soon, and I'm not sure I'll be able to listen during that class, but I can for sure stay a bit longer. Well, basically, the cake's in my next class also. Right. Oh, sounds fun, actually, Grace. Yeah, hopefully you have fun. Yeah, definitely enjoy yourself on that. That's definitely something fun to do. But yeah, definitely do. Yeah, definitely. Hopefully you have fun, and no worries if you have to leave again. Always welcome back. No problem. Like I said, that's the reason why I started early in the first place, because I knew I was probably gonna stay. I was gonna be here for probably 2 to 3 hours talking about this chapter. And also since I do have to do some stuff after the stream as well, that's kind of why I did it early in the first place than usual. But completely understand, no problem. Let's see, treatments for people. So yeah, so again, treatments, especially for antisocial, is ineffective all around, whether it's therapy, medication, or a combination. They really are not effective. And of course, what basically the obstacle is the lack of conscience and desire to change, or respect of therapy as a whole. Of course, the only reason why they may seek therapy is because they're being forced by an employer, the school, or the law, or they come to the attention of therapists, which also may be because of like the substance use, they require treatment for that. But yeah. Let's see, that's if our cake even bakes. Last time our brownies, ooh, so sorry to hear that, Grace. Yeah, that doesn't sound ugh. Yeah, I remember one time, I baked I baked cookies one time and it did not go well. It was my first time baking cookies. It was like years ago, but yeah, I left them too long. They turned out like really really burned. So that was unfortunately one bad dough put to waste. But afterwards, I kind of learned how to do it, and yeah, thankfully that did not happen again. Until this day, I think I do make pretty decent cookies. They're not the best, but I think I do. At least they're pretty, at least good to the taste, in my opinion. At least for my own risk. Gotta go now. Okay, sounds good, Grace. Thanks so much for joining again. And yeah, I'll see you next time later. If I'm still on this stream, I'll see you back in again. But anyway, so yeah, so again, with therapy, some try to create different therapies for people, but again, it's really doesn't really affect them. And going back to medication, they can reduce certain features of the disorder, but it's still not 100% true that it really does help out. Let me tell you about the brownies at some point. Sure, no problem, Grace. Yes, definitely will do that. Yes, hopefully later today, definitely. But yeah, so a lot of these studies, they are not really a lot of these medications, there's not really much support for them, so they really can't help out they really don't help either way. Now the next one that we go into, and let's see. Next one is borderline personality disorder, and or BPD, I suppose that's what it's called. Yeah. Basically, it's major shifts in mood, an unstable self-image, and impulsivity. And yeah, basically, doesn't help. This type of disorder doesn't make relationships go well, which is unstable. And yeah, that's what's unfortunate about this type of personality disorder, where it does affect major relationships altogether. And I think this is where people get confused with bipolar and personality disorder. Bipolar and borderline personality disorder, because they hold on, guys. Okay, let me double check something real quick. I don't want to miss anything, hopefully. Okay, I think we're still good. Are we? Yeah, okay, we're still good, guys. We're still good. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I think a lot of people do get something mixed between bipolar and borderline personality disorder, because bipolar, they feel like the moods change from one to another, like instantly. But that's actually not the case. I think borderline personality sort of fits more of what people think it actually is than what bipolar is itself. Um, but yeah, let's see. Okay. But yeah, that technically is what it is. For example, and here's an example of another patient regarding this disorder. So open quote, Ellen Farber, a 35-year-old single insurance company executive, came to a psychiatric emergency room with complaints of depression and the thought of driving her car off a cliff. An articulate, moderately overweight, sophisticated woman, Miss Farber appeared to be in a considerate distress. She reported a 6-month period of increasingly persistent phobia and a lack of energy and pleasure. Feeling as if she were made of lead. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. Feeling as if she were made of lead, Miss Farber has recently been spending 15 to 20 hours a day in her bed. She also reported daily episodes of binge eating when she could consume anything I can find. She reported problems with intermittent binge eating since adolescence, but since then recently increased in frequency, resulting in a 20-pound weight gain. She attributed her increasing symptoms to financial difficulties. Ms. Farber had been fired for a job 2 weeks before. She claimed it was because she owed a small amount of money. When she asked to be more specific, she reported owing $150,000 to her former employers and another $100,000 to various local banks. From age 30 to 33, she had used her employers' credit cards to finance weekly buying binges, accumulating the $150,000 debt. Sorry about that, guys. 1 second. I keep missing stuff. Hold on. Sorry about this, guys. Okay, I see something. Okay. Never mind. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Yes, I keep starting to check. It's because I have the messages and all that stuff. Let me see. She attributed to so $100,000. She reported that spending money alleviated chronic feelings of loneliness, isolation, and sadness. Experiencing only temporary relief, every few days she would impulsively buy expensive jewelry, watches, and multiple pairs of the same shoes. In addition to lifelong feelings of emptiness, Miss Farber described chronic uncertainty about what she wanted to do in life and with whom she wanted to be friends. She had many brief, intense relationships with both men and women, but a quick temper led to frequent arguments and even physical fights. Although she had always been thought of her childhood as happy and carefree, when she became depressed, she began to recall being abused verbally and physically by her mother. End quote. So as you can see there, guys, that is where it kind of happens. Let me see real quick here. Okay, sorry about that, guys. And also, I think I'm gonna have to end the stream a little bit early after I take care of this one, guys. Because I really need to get going with my stuff. Unfortunately, but I will finish off with at least this. Well, actually, this may actually be a little bit too. Oof. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to. Oh my, let me see. Okay, this is a bit extensive, and it's because this is like the main topic. Well, this is like a big section itself. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to end here, guys. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna have to, and I deeply apologize for this. I do have to get started on some other stuff that I need to work on. But yeah, so unfortunately, yeah, this chapter is very long, and that's why I was kind of, I mean, I knew I wasn't probably gonna cover everything as much as I wanted to, but it really is like an in-depth chapter that even I probably won't be able to go into, or at least complete it myself. I could do a part two to this. The only problem is kind of continuing on from this. I probably don't like doing that, especially for these type of episodes. I only like to keep it these type of discussions. I only like to keep it like a one type thing, and then move on from there. Um, so what I recommend doing is definitely look up personality disorders if you're interested in it, and yeah, look up, especially if you want to know like the main type of personality disorder. Look up borderline personality disorder, and yeah, that is where you will see a lot of more information regarding that, and it'll be interesting, and that's why I'm kind of like looking also on my phone a little bit more right now, guys, because I do have to go already. It's gonna be almost time for me to do the stuff I have to do for the day. Um, but yeah, I do hope y'all did enjoy at least what I was able to share with y'all for this chapter. Again, if y'all are interested in more, I do highly encourage learning more on it. If you do want me to do a part two, let me know. But as of now, I think I will leave it as it is. What I can say though is, oh no, actually not. I mean, what I can say though is definitely look up a borderline personality disorder, since that is like the main, I would say the main discussion in this a whole chapter, a whole discussion on its own. But yeah, that is what I can say on that. But besides that, I'll end off in a positive note at least. Um, that is actually about it, guys, for this whole semester's chapters. Now, what I will do after this chapter, I'm gonna have three bonus. Well, yeah, I'll call it three bonus discussions regarding abnormal psychology. The first one, and I'm not sure how I'll probably do this. I'll have to think about it on how I'll do it, but I'm gonna do two based off like the lifespan abnormal mental health disorders, and then I want to do one as to why I chose abnormal psychology in the first place, and kind of give you my views on what I learned throughout the semester as a whole, my opinions on it, and I guess my final thoughts in abnormal psychology. And yeah, that's all I can say, at least this semester's discussions. But yeah, again, guys, so sorry I had to kind of end it off this early. Again, I did do the best I can. Hopefully you enjoyed it. But if you want, again, definitely do look up on it. If you want to see a part two, do let me know. But as of now, I think I'll end off, this chapter, this discussion, as it is, and yeah, we'll see what happens, in the future. But if not, then we'll just continue on to the next stream. But actually, as of right now, I think we'll be done with discussions as a whole. Next week, I may take a break from discussions, and I may not have like the next one, at least in terms of this, maybe until like another 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, only because yeah, I do want to take a break, and honestly, since the semester is almost over, yeah, I do want to take a break from abnormal psychology, even though I do enjoy it personally. I do want to learn. I do want to take a break, since I do also have to read those chapters that I do want to share with you all, on my own time. But yeah, we'll come back to this maybe in 2 to 3 weeks at the very least. But yeah, guys, if you did enjoy the stream, definitely do leave a thumbs up. I definitely do appreciate it. I know this this type of part of my channel. I know not that many people watch it or maybe listen to it, and I can definitely understand that, because most of y'all are for the gaming side, and I do appreciate that regardless. And it's true. I guess I haven't really hit like any of the medical people yet, but I do hope to at least eventually get some medical support, at least on that side. So that way they can, or at least maybe like either medical students or future medical students, or just anyone who's interested in this in general. But I still love doing this because it is a passion that I love talking about, especially in this type of area. But yeah, again, I know not that many people do watch these type of discussions, but for those who do, I deeply, deeply appreciate it. And yeah, I do hope to continue this in the long run. Not just in abnormal psychology, because after I do my bonus streams, I'll be it for that subject. But yeah, I mean, you know what I mean, like medical based discussions, in other words. But yeah, guys, so if you liked it, please do leave a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions regarding this, since I did not complete it all, definitely do let me know in the comment section or social media, which, by the way, social media is in the description. I will be live later again today for Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz HD, since it's been a while since we played that game, and I'm dying to see what we can do in World 8. No, I think it's... Wait, it's either World 7 or World 8. I actually lost track. It's been a while since I played that. But, yeah, we'll be in a volcano this time around. But yeah, hopefully you look forward to that regardless. It's time to get back to the gaming side once again. But I do hope you all enjoy that. But as for this stream, again, hopefully you all enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed yet, also definitely do consider subscribing to catch these future discussion streams or gaming streams like I do, mostly in the evening side. But yeah, if you're all interested, definitely do check it, definitely do, stick around. I do appreciate all the support, like always. And yeah, I just can't thank you all enough for that, for that support and all that, all that good positive things. But with that being said, guys, we are done for this discussion. Hopefully you have a good day, and I'll catch y'all later tonight for Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz HD. But until next time, bye guys.
Something's hidden in a wood, and while you watch over it, a furious joy overwhelm me. I wanna feel our bodies dancing together. I wanna get drunk of the sinless love. I wanna elude the blues. Let me be your muse. No one can see us, no one can see us but the high spirits, high spirits. No one can see us, no one can see us but the high spirits, high spirits. Together, I wanna get drunk of the sinless love. I wanna elude the blues. Let me be your muse. No one can see us, no one can see us but the high spirits, high spirits. No one can see us, no one can see us but the high spirits, high spirits. I wanna get lost with you.